In this video, I'm going to show you how to install or replace a dishwasher in 4 steps. Coming up. What's going on, guys? Kendall here with Renos for Pros and Joes, helping you simplify the renovation and remodeling process. On this channel, we do tool and gear reviews, as well as renovation tip and strategy videos like this one. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. On this video, I'm going to show you how to install or replace a dishwasher in a residential property in 4 steps. Okay, tool talk. For this project, we're going to need some very basic tools, and I'm going to run through them for you really quickly. Okay guys, for this video, we're going to need some very basic tools. An adjustable wrench, at least 1, perhaps 2, depending on what type of plumbing you have in your property. A flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, electrical wrench, wire nuts in case they're not included with your new dishwasher, Teflon tape for your water supply lines, a pair of gloves is optional, towels recommended. Okay, for this project, there are 4 major components that we have to give consideration to in order to have a successful installation. Number 1 is the water line that goes into the dishwasher. This is going to supply the hot water when you're having a washing cycle going on. Number 2 is the drain for the dishwasher. This allows the dishwasher to pump the water out of the system and into your plumbing line. Number 3 is your electrical wire that runs to the dishwasher that provides it power. Number 4 is being able to level and attach the dishwasher to the underside of your countertop so that it does not shake and vibrate when the dishwasher is moving, and to be secure going forward. Let's get started. Okay guys, I'm going to give you a quick shot of what it looks like here where we're going to be working. Right here is the dishwasher that is no longer working. We're going to be taking this one out. Here we've got the kitchen sink, so below the sink is where we have all of our plumbing supply lines as well as our electrical power source. As you can see, there's also a garbage disposal down here, which we'll have to tie our water drain line into as well. So let's get into it. Before we can get started with the deinstallation of the existing dishwasher, we've got to first disconnect our water supply line, our drain line, as well as the electrical wiring that's running to the unit. So first thing you want to do is figure out which breaker controls the power running to your dishwasher and make sure that it's off. Okay, that's the first step and the most important step before we do anything. Make sure the power is off to the unit. And you also should have an electrical tester with you so that you can touch the power cord, which should be visible or accessible from the bottom of the unit so that you can make sure there's no power on. So if you look down here, I've already taken my front cover plate off. The wiring is here, and typically the housing that we connect to on the unit is towards the front of the unit. So that's actually right here. This is the box that houses the wire nuts where the connections are for the wiring and the tie-in here on the dishwasher. So the next thing that we want to do is make sure that the water supply is off to the unit. Okay, this is our water supply line running here through our base cabinet. We're going to shut this to off. Okay, before it was up, the leg was up this way. We want to turn it off. Okay, so it's off. The next thing that we want to do is use our pliers to turn the connection here to loosen it. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. To disconnect this, I'd also recommend having some towels here so that you can disconnect and catch any residual water that may drip from this supply line. Also, we have a garbage disposal here, and our drain line runs into the back side of the garbage disposal. So here we're going to use our screwdriver to loosen the connection here and pull our drain line off. Both of these connections have to be pulled back through the holes in the side of this cabinet in order to remove the old dishwasher. The electrical wiring is actually on the back side of the dishwasher. hidden behind the cabinet in this particular installation, so we will have to potentially pull it out some before we can actually disconnect the electrical wiring. Okay guys, quick side note. Also make sure or be aware of whether or not there's standing water in the bottom of your dishwasher. Frequently when these things go out, they go out and they will not drain the water that's inside of the dishwasher. So at least look in there to make sure that you're at least aware of whether or not there's a lot of water standing in there, because if there is, you're probably going to want to get some towels to try to drain some of the water out or soak up some of the water prior to trying to move this dishwasher around, because otherwise you could potentially make a huge mess. It's not as big of a deal if you've got vinyl or tile floors, but if you've got hardwoods in your kitchen or even engineered wood, enough water on those floors is going to give you all types of problems. So make sure that you're aware of that and stay on top of that, as well as your drain lines, as I mentioned before. Make sure that you've got some towels on hand to catch all that residual water to keep it out of your base cabinet bottom. Okay? All right. See you guys in 1 second. Okay, typically when you're uninstalling a dishwasher, you're going to have brackets that are holding the dishwasher in place. They usually are going right here and here, and they attach from the top side of the dishwasher into your countertop. Sometimes they have metal pieces that run across here if you're in a newer or newly remodeled kitchen, but otherwise the dishwasher typically is fastened to a piece of wood or something underneath the bottom of the countertop to hold it in place. In this particular scenario, I've already taken those loose, so they're not there. But you just need a screwdriver typically to back those screws out so that you have free rein to be able to move this thing and go ahead and pull it out, because that's generally all that's going to be holding it in there. I have to put my camera down now because it's going to be in the way for me to be able to actually back this thing out of here. So I'll pull it out of here first, and then I'll show you how to disconnect the electrical underneath the bottom. Okay guys, I've taken the dishwasher out of the alcove now, and I've flipped it over on its back, and now you can see the electrical wiring that runs from the bottom of the dishwasher back into the wall here. Our drain line, we still got a little bit of drain line still going through that cabinet, as well as our supply line. I'll pull all those out in a minute. I just wanted to stop for a second and show you what the actual wire connections look like here in or under the dishwasher. So I'm gonna zoom in here for you. Okay, we've got three things here. We've got our white wires, which are connected by a wire nut. We've got our two black wires, which are also connected by a wire nut. Stretch these things out so that you can see them there. Keep in mind, guys, this stuff is not hot because I've already tested it twice and I made sure that I got my breaker off. And then this copper wire here that is actually screwed to this plate with the green screw in it is your ground. So this is the wiring, and moving this around, I pulled my dishwasher connection loose from the wire nut. So there's one connection. You just unscrew these two. Okay, we're more than halfway there. So the actual black and white wires we've already disconnected now. Just need to grab our Phillips head in this situation and unscrew and loosen this thing up enough for us to back this ground. Okay, pull that off. This is our wiring that we will be reusing the same wire to hook up the new one. There's nothing wrong with the wire. So we're gonna sit this over to the side here. I'm gonna pull these hoses through carefully to make sure we don't drip any water out of here. I'm gonna get this old thing out of here, and then I'll be back to unbox the new one and get that one ready to install. So be back in 1 second. Okay. Here we are, guys. Another dishwasher. So lean this one back. So as you can see, much like the one that we just uninstalled, our box for our electrical is right here on the front. It's got a screw here that holds the plate in place that we'll have to remove. This is our kick plate on the front of the unit. Just need a flathead screwdriver here to remove the plate off of it so that we can more easily access this box. And then on the underside of this, we've got our water line. Here is where our water supply will enter into the unit. If you look down here, you can see the small filter that's right there. We're gonna be connecting our connection right here with our hose, and that is about it. So we've got our supply here. This is our drain line running out, and on this unit, this is pretty short. This is much shorter than the one that we had before, if you recall. So we'll have to see if this is gonna be long enough. We may have to use another piece or section to make this reach the distance that we need it to go to get to our garbage disposal. And that's it. So we've got power, we've got the drain, we've got the supply. And I should have mentioned previously that typically these units do not come with the connection kit. So the hoses and everything else are generally sold separately. In this scenario, I got a kit that came with it, or I purchased it at the same time, which includes the hose as well as the connections for the bottom of the dishwasher supply line. So if you're gonna need any type of special fittings for the drain line, that would have to be bought separately. So stay tuned. Okay guys, now we're taking a look at our new dishwasher. Does any of this look familiar? Should. It's exactly the same. White wire, black wire, green for our ground. That's it. So the next step is to connect up our hose extension over here, because that's not going to be long enough, and to do our connection here for our supply. So let's jump on that. Okay guys, I went and took the extension hose off of the old dishwasher because there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to actually install this piece onto the new dishwasher so that we have enough hose here to complete the job. So first thing that we need to do is force this in as far in as it will go, and I think we're there. And the next step is to slide our clamp here, this green clamp, up onto the hose to ensure that there's a tight connection. So I've got my pliers here. I'm gonna adjust them down just a wee bit. Squeeze it and force this thing up. You have to do it in phases because it's designed to have a really, really tight fit. Pliers are acting up too. You see it's scooting on there slowly but surely, but it's fighting with me a little bit. So there we go. It's right there in the center. And on this particular one, you can't see it now, but it actually indicates where the clamp should go on here. Feels like it's pretty secure on there. Show you guys another way you can do this as well. You can also use these steel rings that can also be tightened down to accomplish the same goal. Just designed to keep the water inside the pipe and not to be able to come out of here easily. This is not a pressurized line, this is just the drain. So it does have some pressure on it, but it's not under constant pressure like the supply line is. So it's not that easy to make it leak, and as you see, this is on here pretty tight. So we'll leave that as it is for now. Okay guys, this is in my dishwasher supply kit. We've got our hose here. Typically these hoses are like silver and they have a braided look to them. This did not come from the standard place where I typically buy my things, and I ended up buying this. I already had one, but the store was closing and it was late, and I just didn't feel like going back and forth with the guy. So I said, just give me a new one so I can get out of here. So I got one. This is what it looks like. It does say that it's industrial strength, whatever that means, but they're all about the same. If you get a standard one, it should last just as good as something like this. So here's the connection that goes into the bottom of the dishwasher here. And then this is a second connection in the event that you've got this type of install on the bottom of your dishwasher. There's two different types. This one is the one we're going to use today because we've got our plastic connection, as I showed you before, here, our blue connection here, and this just screws right on there. There's a different type that has a female, this is a male. There's a different type that has a female opening, which is actually, this piece would actually fasten or screw or thread into it, and then you would tighten it down and then connect the water hose to that one. So both of them, we don't need this piece right here at all. this screws in here. And then we screw this down. Just like with this one. Sorry, wrong end. Same deal. That screws in. So we just screw that in. Same thing, we make our connection, and then we're ready to go ahead and install. Here in the instructions, I just noticed it does show you the old style or original style and new style. So we've got the new style, which I showed you has the blue connection here. If you notice in the instructions here, the new style just has a washer on the inside of it so that it can screw straight onto the plastic, whereas the old style, which screws into the bottom of the unit, actually does require Teflon tape, which is what you see here in the picture. That's white stuff. It's the Teflon tape that you have to wrap around the threading to ensure a watertight fit. So because we have a new style, we don't need the Teflon tape right here at this connection. So we actually can just screw this directly on here and rock and roll. So make sure you've got everything lined up just right here, because you don't want to strip the threads on this thing because it's plastic. You've got metal going on plastic. So sometimes you have to play with it to make sure that you've got it on there smoothly so that you don't chew up the threads on the plastic. Okay, I'm just gonna hand tighten that. Okay, it would have been easier for me to have put my Teflon tape on this side of this before I put it onto the plastic, but it'll be fine either way. So just gonna go around here. That should be enough. Just wanna make sure you've got a nice tight wrap on there for your Teflon tape. And notice that I wrapped it counterclockwise or right, because I want my tape to be on there in the same direction. Otherwise it can unroll backwards and it can turn into a mess. Okay, I'm gonna put just a couple, just half turns on this thing, not much, because it's not necessary. Okay, so we're connected up here. This is actually gonna be attaching directly to that shutoff valve that I showed you in the beginning there. So we'll replace our Teflon tape over there before we connect this. Here's the other end of this drain hose. If you notice, it does not have a connection on there to tie into the garbage disposal, but we've got a solution for that as well. So there's a part that's sold, which is somewhat of an adapter here that will allow you to adjust to the size that you need it to be to make your connection. So I'm gonna back out here a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so very similar, it goes on very similar to the way that we just did the other end of this hose. So in this scenario, we are gonna use this clamp. Let me flip it that way. And when I initially bought this, there was another small section here that was even skinnier than this section, another step down. I cut that section off because it was too small for this hose to go into, for me to be able to get in there and get a good connection. So if you look inside here, the hose can pretty much come in as far as you want it to, but you only really want it to probably have to be approximately right here so that you can ensure that you've got a very good connection. And then we're gonna put our ring over top of it once we're in there. So I'll just stick this in here. You have to kind of work with it a little bit. What that? See, it's, you gotta have to, twisting it does help. So we're think we're in there pretty good. If you look in there closely, you can see the white part coming through. So we're probably in there good enough. Then we just slip this on over like that. And I will use my flathead screwdriver if I can find it here. Hold on 1 second. Flathead action. Okay, there we go. Tighten this down pretty good. Don't over tighten it though. Kind of just have to have a feel for it. You don't want to cause the pipe to collapse. So I've got mine on there like that. And then we're on there pretty tight, as you can see. So we're ready to install our drain line. We've got our supply line ready. Our electrical wire is still in place from our removal of the last dishwasher, or old dishwasher. And so the next thing we really need to do is come over here and Teflon tape our shutoff valve. We're not replacing the shutoff valve because it's in good shape. It's not leaking or doing any things that we wouldn't want it to be doing. Okay, I've got this thing zoomed in about as much as I can right here. As you can see, this is on the back side of that shutoff valve, which is really wobbly. But all we're wanting to do is try to clean the old tape off as best we can. That I'm gonna try to do this as neatly as possible. Make sure that when you put this on here that you don't block the hole for the water, because that's not good. You see, I've got my Teflon tape on there now. Okay, guys. Nothing left to do but do it. Our hose is here. Get that extra ring out of the way. Go ahead and stand this thing up. Okay guys, next step is to go ahead and do our electrical connection, because this is going to be very difficult to do once we actually set the unit in place. So first things first, let's go ahead and fish it up in there, and keep in mind that I have a lot of wire to play with on this particular install, so I can do it like this. Depending on your scenario where you're installing, you may not have this much space to play with. I've got probably 3.5 feet or more. Connection there. We'll just use the same wire nuts off of the old one to do this connection. So let's go ahead and deal with this first, because this is going to be the one that would probably give us the most trouble. Just gonna take that close to the end there and bend it like that. Right. Back it out a little bit more to give us some more room to play. All right, good there. Got our white wire. I like to just sit mine on there side by side, or perhaps to have it a little bit higher. And then I just like to screw that thing down on there slowly, and I just keep going until I know it's on there tight. So you want to make sure that they're both inside that cap together. Make sure that they're in there tight. You don't want to lose connection in there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. Now we're there. I'm gonna put this back on here. So we're there. Okay guys, earlier in the video you did see me cheat and use an impact wrench, but I'll show you why I did that. On this install, so you can see that, this screw has a hex head. So it's not a Phillips head, it's a hex head. And in order to back it out, I had to use my impact driver because that's what I had with me that would allow me to get it out of there easily. So I'm going to use it again to put it back. Okay, there we go. It's back on there. So, nothing left to do with this except go ahead and set it up and sit it in place and make sure that we've got this thing tall enough and let it rip. Go ahead and finish the install. let's take it for its maiden voyage. Check for your leaks. Okay guys, one final point before I wrap this thing up. If you notice, the plumbing underneath this sink here is CPVC, okay, which is a type of plastic. This property that I'm working on today is approximately 12 years old, so it's a relatively young house. However, CPVC has been used for probably around 30 years or more, and somewhere in that range. I can tell you that the older PVC can be very, 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 very brittle, and particularly brittle at the joints where you have couplings here where the glue has been applied to glue it together. This can become very brittle, and I say that because when you saw me holding this in place while I screwed on this portion right here, or this piece or fitting here, any slight torque or movement back and forth with this can be enough to break this pipe. I've seen it happen before, and you do not want that to happen. So if you're in an older home that's, got CPVC in it, it may be wise for you to play it extra safe and turn off the water to the house, as well as turning it off here just at the dishwasher, because if this thing breaks, water is going to go everywhere. So keep that in mind as you go on your own plumbing dishwasher change out journey. All right guys, we've about got this one licked. Pretty straightforward. You've got your water supply line, you've got your drain line, you've got your electrical, and then you've got your attaching of the brackets to the underside of the cabinet. Those are your four main steps. You gotta reverse and go back forward if you're taking one out and putting one in. If you're just putting one in, you just go through those steps one time. Hopefully you found this dishwasher installation and replacement video informative. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you've got questions about this video or other videos that you'd like to see me do, please leave those in the comment section for me. I'm gonna go ahead and run this thing on its maiden voyage and get out of here. Don't forget also to check your connections underneath your sink to make sure you don't have any drips or leaks once you've tied everything in. Also, remember to turn your power back on because we turned it off to do our wiring. So, good luck to you guys out there, and see you all in the next one. Peace.